Good day everyone and welcome to Exile News, the weekly show that brings you all the important news and informations on Path of Exile. And last week, Chris Wilson himself was the guest of the State of Exile podcast, which happens every 2 weeks. And since Chris Wilson was on the podcast, it's probably going to be a lot more interesting than usual. And not because the other guests can't really say interesting things, it's just because having inside information from GGG is just something you can't beat. So if you didn't listen or watch it live, I highly recommend you to go and watch it on YouTube, and it's especially good if you are playing the game just farming. Maybe you put it underneath and just listen to it. So there you go, I'll put the link in the description below. And also we got some new microtransaction which came with the most recent patch, and there's some finally interesting ones for Split Arrow, which really is the same since probably the day it was made. So yeah, some of those are really good, like the Frost Flower Ice Trap skill. Now this is really good. Others are pretty uninspired, like the Gore Lightning skill. So yeah, there's a lot of variety, and there's also Blade Sentry pet, really unexpected, really quite interesting thing. Pretty nice to see, didn't really expect that. But yeah, overall good stuff if you enjoy these kind of things. And then along with the recent update came also the Labyrinth Leaderboards, and there's a leaderboard for every difficulty, and at the end of the day, if you are the top player of the Labyrinth in a specific difficulty, you will receive a jewel, and the jewels are limited to each difficulty. So Emperor's Wit is a unique Cobalt jewel increasing crit strike chance, character size and intelligence. 4% intelligence is actually not bad, especially for those Whispering Ice builds. There's also the Emperor's Cunning, a unique Viridian jewel, increasing accuracy, character size and dexterity, and this looks to be good, honestly, only with the Dreamfeather build or something like that. And then the Emperor's Might Crimson Jewel, increasing damage, generic damage, so that's pretty good, increased character size again and increased strength. Probably the strongest of the 3 jewels. It's also probably the one for Merciless. So that's pretty good overall, really interesting stuff. It's nice that GG is adding these kind of things. It's kind of a race type thing. If you really like to speedrun the Labyrinth, this is definitely a neat thing to do. You also get access to all the enchants, so speedrunning Merciless is definitely going to be worth for a long while. I am not sure about the other 2 difficulty. Also, GGG is planning to create a book and adding it as a simple vendor recipe to de-level your character by 1 level. Just like there is the book that removes your choice for the bandits, it's probably going to be the same, however it de-levels your character, so that if you, by running the Labyrinth, you exceed the level required to enter normal Labyrinth, which is level 40, or Cruel Labyrinth, which is level 60, you will be able to go back to 59 or 39 and play the Labyrinth again, so that's also pretty interesting. Next, we actually got the 2.2.2 patch notes, the most recent patch, which, as we said, added Labyrinth Leaderboards, also added the Summon Lightning Golem, which we saw last week, and the unique Star of Rayclast Amulet, the one that granted Illusory Warp skill. It's only obtainable thanks to a specific vendor recipe, which, as far as I know, has not been discovered yet, and seeing how long it took for the Goddess Unleashed to be discovered, it's probably going to take a long while for this one too. Also depending on the strength of the new skill it gives. New microtransactions, as we said, further improvements has been made to asset preloading and memory usage. This is pretty good. Attack damage per frenzy charge bonuses now appear on the character information panel. This is pretty good for tooltip warriors or just people who like to see the effect of frenzy charges, the actual effect. And the Hall of Grandmaster now has 9 potential wings, so there were 6 wings before, there's 9 now. Pretty nice to know. If your character can run it, definitely worth to be run. and some other more balance fixes. Overall, a pretty nice and decent sized patch. Other than that, we got the community showcase for last week, we got some hardcore highlights, a very nice hideout, some best moment compilations from Queen69, which went from being a Diablo streamer to a PoE streamer, a very nice rendering of the beginning of the Labyrinth, some more death highlights, and how to get 50 stacks of Blade Vortex in under a second. So overall, pretty interesting stuff as usual from the community. And the last news is the Goddess Unleashed. So as we said earlier, the Goddess has finally been unleashed, and it all started with the Goddess Bound, with a simple recipe that people figured out in 3 days. You can get the Goddess Scorned, and these are strange weapons, as in the fact that they are both one-handed swords, using both hand slots, because that's how the Goddess works, I guess. And the last one was finally crafted a couple days ago, only after Reese dropped a long series of hints, and that's because the recipe was actually really damn hard to be found. It requires a specific quantity of items. It also required a specific level and quality of gems, not necessarily max level and quality, so that was the main point of the problem regarding this recipe. And as you can see, again, the sword uses both hand slots, and it's all about physical damage, converting it to fire, and then igniting enemies, blinding them. Also, you will most likely be hit by her blessing, which deals 33% of your own life and energy shield per second to yourself, so it's kind of like having a Righteous Fire. However, it grants you a lot of bonuses while you have it or when you refresh it. So it's kind of an interesting sword, but it definitely looks not strong, and it definitely is not worth the vendor recipe. And even the creator of the sword actually said, do not craft it yet, because he is actually saying to GGG, is asking GGG to change the recipe to something that can be made by the end of Cruel, and a 6th link in the recipe is definitely not something you will have at the end of Cruel, so we'll see how that goes. Overall, pretty interesting thing to have a series of weapons. I would like GGG to make a series of something again, but we'll see about that. Also, if you read all the posts here, there is the riddle and how it should have been interpreted, and how people actually interpreted it. Also, there's a timeline of significant events, of how people tried to guess when the hints were dropped, when it was found, all that kind of stuff. Pretty good. Also, video demonstration, which is not really that interesting, because it's just a random build with the sword, and it doesn't really say much to it. I mean, having the video or not having it doesn't really make much of a difference. And that was all for this week. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and a comment down below. Also, if you want to remain updated every week, be sure to subscribe to my channel. So that was all. I've been your host, Giorgio, and I'll see you guys the next time.